Have you ever wondered why successful people are able to overcome every challenge while others fail? Behind every great achievement is a series of bold decisions and courageous steps. It is these hardships and obstacles that provide the opportunity to prove oneself, to push boundaries, and to create a life of true meaning. Listen to the inspiring words of influential figures, the profound moments from movies, and you'll realize that if you dare to face your fears and push beyond your limits, a beautiful, successful life will be yours. Don't miss the chance to discover the secret to this right now. I've always believed that in every step of life, risk is not just a challenge, but an opportunity. From the stories I've heard, the motivational speeches of famous individuals from various fields, or the meaningful films I've watched, I've come to realize that risk is the forge that shapes us. No one reaches the top without facing deep valleys, and there is no memorable story without moments where our hearts race with fear, yet we still dare to move forward. Risk is not something to fear. It's a test of our spirit, making us grow. It's like the storm before, the clear skies, the low notes that add depth to the symphony of life. Without risk, there would be no progress, no motivation to break free from the limits we set for ourselves. Each of us faces moments where we must make difficult choices. But it's in overcoming fear that we not only prove our worth, but also find a better version of ourselves. Let me guide you through vivid stories and the lessons I've learned from others and myself. You'll see that risk is not a dead end. It's the bridge to greatness. You might even realize that stepping into the comfort zone is easy, but it's only when you dare to step out of it that you truly live. You know, every day, people wake up, do the same things over and over, and tell themselves, one day, I will change my life. But that day never comes. I once heard someone say that, and it made me think for a long time. Why do we keep waiting for someday, when today could be the day to start changing? When faced with big life decisions, I often ask myself, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? That question shines a light on the anxieties tangled in my heart. Sometimes the answer is so clear, yet so challenging. Do what you truly want, what makes your heart race, no matter how terrifying it may be. And you know what? What we fear most is often the very thing we need to do. I remember in a movie, the main character stood at a major crossroads in life, facing a flurry of worries. What if I fail? What if things don't turn out the way I expect? But then she lifted her head, smiled gently, and told herself, if I don't try, I will live with these what ifs forever. But if I try, I'll find the answer. I realize that it's the fear of failure that holds us back, like an invisible rope tying our legs, preventing us from crossing our own boundaries. Then I asked myself something else. What would I do if I knew for sure that I couldn't fail? It sounds crazy, doesn't it? But that thought made me stronger, because it opened up a world where hesitation has no place. In that world, we keep moving forward, turning fear into motivation, and creating a story we can be proud of. I once heard Jordan Peterson say, you should fear taking risks and pursuing what's meaningful, but you should fear more the idea of staying stuck in one place, especially if it makes you miserable. Those words were like a wake-up call, reminding me that stagnation is never the safe choice. It's just an invisible cage holding us back, while time keeps moving and the world outside keeps changing. I've been in that state, afraid to leave my comfort zone, even though it was suffocating me. I told myself, maybe the devil I know is better than the devil I don't. But is that really true? A dull job, a meaningless lifestyle, or a relationship devoid of passion? These things are like a fast-moving river, drowning the joy and desire within us. And I realized the cost of not changing is far greater than the risk of stepping forward. In a film I once watched, the main character faced a difficult choice: leave a stable job to chase a dream she had nurtured for years. Her friend said something I'll never forget: "Time waits for no one. If you don't take action today, 5 years from now you'll still be stuck here, only older, and the feeling of regret will be so much worse." I realized that the fear of failure isn't as bad as letting time pass by without doing anything. So, I remind myself, if I don't move today, tomorrow will just be a tired and older version of who I am. Risk is real, but it's the price worth paying to find what truly matters in life. I once heard Steve Harvey say, "If you play it safe, you're just existing. You only truly live when you dare to take risks. There is no life in safety." Those words struck me like a challenge to the fear inside me. At first, it seems terrifying. Taking risks means the possibility of failure, harm, and loss. But then I realized existing and living are two completely different things. Looking back, I realized that the most memorable moments in my life are always connected to the courage to step out of my comfort zone. I once heard a story about Muhammad Ali, who said, "You can't become a champion if you don't step into the ring, and you can't win the fight if you don't train." That story made me ask myself, if I want to achieve what I desire, can I just stand outside and watch? The answer is clear: no. Everything worth having in life requires effort and the courage to face risks. A friend once told me that she was afraid to quit her current job to start her own business. I asked her, "How will you know what's waiting for you ahead if you don't try?" And then she realized the scariest thing isn't failing. It's the regret of never trying. Safety, as I've learned, is just an illusion. It can't bring true joy, nor can it turn dreams into reality. Only when you dare to leap, dare to confront, do you truly live, not just exist. I remember hearing Will Smith say, "Chasing a dream is a lonely journey, full of fear, and sometimes even danger. You can't wait for someone else to believe in you. You have to risk everything to nurture the seed of belief within yourself. You must be brave. You must never stop striving." Those words echoed in me like a reminder that the path to success is not always accompanied by others. There are moments when I find myself lost, standing between two choices. One side is comfortable, safe, but nothing changes. The other side is filled with risks, but it could lead to something amazing. In those moments, I remind myself, if I don't believe in myself, who will? Dreams are like seeds. They need perseverance and bravery to rise above the storm. And sometimes the only thing to do is take a step despite the fear. I once heard Jim Rohn say, "Everything is a risk. From the moment you're born, life is a game of uncertainties. If you think trying is risky, wait until you get the bill for not trying. If investing is risky, see the cost of not investing. Everything is a risk, and you won't leave this life without making trade-offs." Those words acted as a mirror, reflecting the fear inside me. I used to be the one who always said, "What if the worst happens? What if I fail?" It was this language that trapped me in my comfort zone, where peace was nothing more than a fragile shell hiding the growing regret. But then I realized, not acting is far riskier than stepping out and confronting. The price of doing nothing is the greatest loss: time, opportunity, and even myself. I once watched a film where the main character faced a tough choice: give up the safety of a steady job to pursue a dream. She said, "Life doesn't offer any absolutely safe choices. So why not choose the path that makes you feel truly alive?" That sentence urged me. Take a step, even if it's just a small one. Life, I've learned, is a gamble. But what I've discovered is that if you don't dare to bet, you'll never know what you could achieve. Remember, risk is not the enemy. It's the teacher that helps us grow. I once heard a very insightful quote: If you do easy things, life will become difficult. But if you choose to do difficult things, you will have an easy life. When I first heard this, I was a bit confused. Don't we all long for comfort, for paths that are less rocky? But then I gradually understood that it's the challenges, the pressure we place on ourselves, that truly shape who we become. I remember a friend once shared that he gave up a stable job to pursue his passion for writing. At that time, everyone said he was crazy for leaving his comfort zone. But he calmly responded, "Put a stone under pressure, and it will become a diamond." And I choose to put myself under pressure because I know it will create value. His story made me reflect a lot on myself. We are often bound by the past, fears, failures, or unpleasant memories. But the truth is, the past no longer matters. The only thing that matters is what we choose to do in the present. Like a character in a movie I once watched said, "The only way to move forward is to let go of what no longer serves you." Discomfort is not the enemy, but a companion that helps us grow. When you dare to face difficult things, you not only change your life, you change who you become. Challenge yourself, because only then will you truly realize the value of effort. The comfort zone sounds peaceful, but in reality, it's an invisible circle that traps people in boredom and stagnation. We often tell ourselves, just enough is fine. But is that really enough? Imagine if Thomas Edison had accepted failure after his first attempt. The world might never have known electric light. It was his dissatisfaction with the present, his desire for change, that drove him to overcome thousands of failures to create the miracle. Someone once told me, "Don't be too ambitious, just be content with what you have." At first, that advice seemed reasonable, but deep down, it felt like an obstacle. Because it's the risk-taking, facing the unknown, that helps us grow and move forward. The successful people I've read about, whom I've admired, all have one thing in common. They never stopped at enough. When I think about life's turning points, I realize that challenges are not enemies, but the greatest teachers. Just like a diamond can only shine under enough pressure, people too become stronger when they face difficulties. Steve Jobs once said, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was that foolishness, that curiosity, and relentless desire to rise that took him from a small garage to become a symbol of creativity and success. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Every time you do something difficult, not only are you getting closer to your goal, but you are also building a better version of yourself. The journey is not easy, but that's the true value of life. In life, there are times when you stand at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take. The advice of others may not lead you anywhere, because no one understands you better than you. Sometimes you may not even understand what you want, and that is part of the journey of self-awareness. I used to crave the approval of those around me. I wanted them to understand and support my dreams, but the truth is, it doesn't always happen that way. The people around you, no matter how kind, cannot make decisions for you. You must choose for yourself. As a famous quote I remember says, "If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will." Thinking back to Elon Musk's journey, who gave up a stable job to step into a challenging path, I realize an important truth. No one can walk for you. Everything starts with believing in yourself. You have to be ready to stand alone, even when no one is there to walk with you. But once you begin to act, once the ball starts rolling, you'll see many people are willing to help you, even though they didn't believe in you before. Remember, everything starts from a strong belief in yourself and determined action. When I think about my future self, I don't just imagine a successful person, but a strong person, someone whom nothing can defeat. A bulletproof person, not only strong in work, but resilient in love, family, and all aspects of life. That is the person I want to become. There's a quote I always remember. Hell is when you look at the person you could have been and realize you never became that person. And I ask myself, if I want to become that person, what will I have to go through? Not everything will be easy. There will be no quick victories or light moments of triumph. The path I must walk is a tough one, full of challenges, where each step is a significant effort. Just like when I work out, each time I lift weights, it's not to complete it easily, but to make my muscles stronger. I understand that it's the difficulty, the struggle, and pushing my limits that create the person I want to become. When difficult moments and challenges come, I look into my spiritual mirror and say, this is how I create myself. This is the path I've chosen. And although I haven't achieved everything, I know I'm gradually becoming a stronger person every day. I want you to promise me one thing now. No matter how long the journey takes, no matter how painful it may be, keep going. Never stop. You were not born into this world just to exist. You were not born to be ordinary, to live a mundane life. You were born to shine, to reach for extraordinary things. Understand that the difficulties, the challenges you are facing are not random. They are part of the journey you must go through to become the person you're meant to be. Never fear hardship. Never grow tired of long nights, the hours of patient struggle. A little difficulty won't harm anyone. It will only make you stronger, I promise. As someone once said, if you go through fire, you will become tougher. And I believe that. You must understand that after everything you've endured, you will be much stronger. Life is not for those who give up. If you want to become the person you dream of, you must be willing to endure pain, to face great challenges. There is no easy road, but once you overcome it, you will stand firm, resilient, and nothing can knock you down. It is in the hardest moments that you will see your own growth and strength. I once wondered about my future, about what I would see when I turn 80. I imagined sitting down and looking back on my life, feeling everything I've been through. I'll ask myself whether there was something I missed, something I didn't dare try, or a choice I didn't make. The answer is clear. I don't want any regrets. I don't want to look back and think I should have tried that, but if I hadn't, I would never have known. So I know I will never regret trying something new, whether I fail or not. But one thing I'm sure of is, if I don't try, that will be my biggest regret. In fact, when you look ahead, it's not about success or failure. What matters is whether you have the courage to venture, whether you have the strength to face fear and the unknown. People often talk about facing failure, but in reality, the scariest thing is living without trying. You can only be free if you dare to face the challenge, just like the quote from the movie. There's no victory without a fight. And I've also realized the older you get, the more you understand something important. You cannot live in what is past. If you keep fearing failure, you'll forever live in the shadow of yourself. Don't let hesitation steal your opportunities. Life is not for those who regret. As I grew older, I began to see life from a different perspective. The older I get, I realize that what I think is important now might not matter to me tomorrow. A friend once told me, the longer you live, the more you realize 80% of the time ends up like Johnny Sack in The Sopranos. Nothing memorable. At that time, I didn't fully understand what that meant, but now, after experiencing a lot, I realize that efforts don't always yield immediate results. Things don't always come with clear rewards. Sometimes we do things not because we're sure we'll succeed, but because we understand that growth is not a straight line. And failure? It's just part of the process. Not everyone can see the value of what they're doing right away, but it's those things that can't be measured immediately that build the person you will become. So, just keep going, whether you fail or not. Never let difficult moments stop you. In those moments, you are building the person you want to become. Because like in the Shawshank Redemption, when Andy says, get busy living or get busy dying, you'll never know where life will take you. but at least you dared to step out of your comfort zone to find the answer. Looking back on the path I've taken, I wonder, have I been brave enough, bold enough? Did I truly dare to step out of my comfort zone? Sometimes I think the answer is certainly not. But how could I know for sure? That's a question I once heard someone ask, someone I admire and once dreamed of becoming. Did I take enough risk? Did I put myself out there? Those words were like a wake-up call, a splash of cold water, urging me to reflect on myself. When I first heard these words, I didn't think much of them, but now things have changed. Especially from my 20s to 30s, it's the time when you should try everything, embrace risk. It's when taking chances is not just an option, but the only way to shape your future. But something strange happens. Most people go the opposite way. They feel pressure from family, from society, and begin to choose the safe path. They think they have to prove something to others, to themselves. And so, instead of taking risks, they become conservative, settling into comfort. I recall an interview with Elon Musk, where he spoke about the daring decisions he made to build SpaceX and Tesla. He said, "Don't fear failure, because if you don't try, you'll never know what's possible." And that's true. Real opportunities don't come to those who are afraid, to those who choose safety. It's in those challenging moments that you discover your true strength. And then I realized something important. There are two ways to look at this world. Some people see what they want. They see their goals clearly. They see the path ahead, and that drives them forward, no matter the obstacles. But there are others who only see the barriers, the things that stand in the way of achieving what they desire. For them, every step is filled with reasons not to act, with fears, doubts, and self-imposed barriers. I remember watching a video of Steve Jobs once, where he said every day, you have to wake up and choose. Will you live your own life, or will you live the life others expect of you? I can't forget that line because it completely changed the way I saw life. In my younger years, I dreamed of great successes, but I also hesitated because of the fears about the struggles I would face. But then I realized, if I kept focusing on the challenges, I would never reach my dreams. You may have heard Elon Musk's story when he started his ventures like PayPal and SpaceX. People said he was heading into a dead end, that he would fail. But instead of seeing the hardships, he saw the opportunities. He saw a future that no one else dared to imagine. And it was that courage to envision what he wanted that helped him overcome every obstacle. Similarly, in life, sometimes we need to change our perspective. Instead of focusing on what could hold us back, we should focus on what will help us reach our dreams. Because if we don't dare to look at the goal, how can we ever reach it? In that moment, I realized something crucial, a lesson I had heard somewhere before, but only when I went through my own struggles and challenges did I truly understand. The years ahead, this very moment, is a golden opportunity that you cannot miss. This is not the time to choose safety, to look for a job your mother wants you to have. It's not the time to find a job just because it's stable, safe, and doesn't challenge you. Right now, it's the time to live the life you truly want. I recall once watching an interview where Elon Musk shared, "You only have a short time to do something crazy. And if you don't do it, you'll never know what you could have accomplished." Those words pushed me forward. My youth was spent hesitating, trying to find safety, doing what others expected of me, out of fear of failure. But then I realized that this is the golden time to do great things, to challenge myself, to break every limit I once thought impossible. It could be 3 years, it could be 8, but everyone has that period, that time when only by daring to fight, daring to pursue passion, do you discover the true strength within you. Don't waste time on safety, on things you do just because you're too afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Go for the life you want, seek the opportunities you truly desire. Because if not now, then when? Whenever I reflect on my own steps, I remember the words shared by someone I've always admired. A powerful, passionate quote that I always keep close to my heart. Never let anyone tell you that you can't do something. Not me, not anyone. If you have a dream, protect it. If others can't do something, they'll try to tell you that you can't either. If you want something, go get it. It's that simple. That was the line from Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness. A quote that always gives me strength, inspiring me every time life challenges me. That quote is like a surge of energy, empowering me to keep going. Yes, sometimes you feel you have nothing but desires, dreams that society or those around you don't understand. But it's in those moments that you need to find the pain within yourself. What's that pain? It's the unbearable feeling of watching your dreams fade, of realizing you can't do what you truly want to do. We sometimes get trapped in the reality others impose on us, listening to advice, and gradually forgetting our own passions. But remember, it's the struggles, the pain of overcoming challenges, that shapes us into strong individuals. And once you dare to step through that pain, you won't be the same person anymore. You will be a stronger version of yourself, a winner in your own life. So, never listen to those who say you can't. You absolutely can if you dare to believe in yourself and start taking action. Thinking about the challenges in life, I realize an important truth that I cannot overlook. Sometimes, pain becomes a stronger motivation than any joy or success. I once heard a quote from someone I deeply admire, David Goggins, a legend in sports and an icon of perseverance and mental strength. He once said, "Pain pushes you faster and harder than joy ever could." If you truly understand this, you'll realize that pain is a huge motivator, even stronger than anything else. That quote really made me think. When facing difficulties, when the challenges seem insurmountable, we often feel like quitting. But I realized something strange. When you have nothing to lose, when you face pain and helplessness, those moments are when you feel like you can do anything. That's when you discover a strength within you that you never knew existed. We don't need to seek comfort to move forward. It's the pain, the challenges, that push us closer to our goals. David Goggins also added, "Imagine you have to protect a loved one when they're in danger. That feeling will give you the strongest motivation to act because you can't accept doing nothing." That's absolutely true. When faced with pain, we find a determination we never thought we had. Challenges aren't just obstacles. They are opportunities for us to become stronger, to overcome ourselves and achieve what we once thought impossible. So, don't fear pain. Don't shy away from challenges. Use them to push yourself forward because in those moments, you will find your true strength. I remember once, when I was watching an interview with Will Smith, he shared something that made me think for a long time. You won't die from trying something new. Living the life you truly want will be 1,000,000 times better than chasing what's easy, quick, but ultimately leaves you disappointed. Those words from him were a powerful jolt, making me stop and ask myself whether I truly dared to step out of my comfort zone. Sometimes we get caught up in simple choices, easy decisions because we fear facing uncertainty. We tell ourselves that as long as we keep life as it is, as long as we don't change anything, everything will be fine. But when time passes, when we look back on the years that have gone by, we may realize that we've missed so many opportunities. The things we could have achieved, the dreams we never touched, will forever be a source of regret. That feeling, the awareness of what has been overlooked, I had no idea how painful it would be. But I could imagine that nothing could be more haunting than the thought of a life passing by without ever becoming the best version of myself. I didn't want to face that moment. I didn't want to tell myself, I wish. That's why I couldn't stop, couldn't settle for safety. I had to keep pushing forward, embracing new challenges. They might bring pain, but they would also help me grow. One morning I was sitting and listening to a speech by someone I admire, Gary Vaynerchuk. He said something I couldn't forget. At some point, you need to decide what you want to do, and you need to become the best in the world at it. Not just good, but the best. It has to be that way. Those words were like a light in the dark, dispelling the doubts that had been lingering in my mind. In reality, we often take pride in small steps and moderate successes. But is that really enough when we set goals? Is it enough to just aim to be an average person in a world full of opportunities? Do we just want to succeed in a field without truly giving our all? Without the determination to be number one? Without a clear vision of who we want to be, can we overcome every challenge? Gary Vaynerchuk also reminded me that if you don't have this mindset, if you don't dare to set a goal to become the best, you will always stand still, accepting your fate. And when that happens, nothing will be worth celebrating. No success will be truly deserved. That's why I decided that good enough wasn't enough for me. I had to be exceptional, the best at what I do. My career, my future, would only have value if I dared to set big goals and face the challenges to become someone irreplaceable. I remember one evening, sitting with a group of friends, discussing the dreams and ambitions each of us carried. During the conversation, a quote from someone I deeply admired echoed in my mind. We too often live in our own little boxes, where we only dare to think about what we've already seen. Our minds are so limited, only knowing the familiar, never stepping outside the boundaries we've created. That quote felt like a wake-up call, a powerful push. Surely, you felt this too. Sometimes we're held back by our own limitations. Worries, fears, daily concerns, all create an invisible web that traps us in a small space, making everything seem dull and not as vibrant as before. But then, like a flicker of light in the dark, I realized that only when you dare to dream, only when you truly place yourself in those dreams, can you see a wider path, a future not confined by what you already know. Yes, dreams are important, but don't let those dreams control you. Don't let them be the only measure of what you can achieve. Because when you let the dream lead, when you let it control you, you'll never truly move forward. To achieve what you want, you must turn that dream into motivation, but don't forget action. Don't forget that success doesn't come through vague thoughts, but through steady, determined steps. One thing I've learned over the years of pursuing dreams is that we always find ways to delay what we need to do. Every time we decide to face a challenge, we often come up with reasonable excuses to put it off. Not today, tomorrow will do, I tell myself. But in reality, every decision has consequences. Every day, we are building a habit, a mental muscle. If you choose to procrastinate, you're nurturing a habit of working based on excuses, not keeping promises to yourself, and most importantly, not being able to trust yourself. If you choose to work, you're building a different muscle, a stronger one, which is keeping promises to yourself, even if no one else knows you've made that commitment. I've heard a quote that I carry with me. Discipline is really about keeping promises to yourself. And indeed, not everything is always clear. No one stands there reminding you to finish this book by the end of the month. No one will judge you if you don't follow through with your plan. In fact, no one even knows you've made those commitments to yourself. But what matters is, can you keep that promise? Have you ever regretted missing an opportunity for one reason or another? We don't only live for promises made to others, but also for the promises we make to ourselves. Remember, every decision you make today will shape the person you will become in the future. When you don't keep promises to yourself, you slowly lose faith in yourself. But if you persist, if you work even when no one is watching, that's when you're developing an invisible mental strength. It's like athletes, they don't only train when a coach is around. It's every day, every minute, creating their own commitments and persevering with them. Remember, every decision you make today will shape the person you will become in the future. When you don't keep promises to yourself, you slowly lose faith in yourself. But if you persist, if you work even when no one is watching, that's when you're developing an invisible mental strength. It's like athletes. They don't only train when a coach is around. It's every day, every minute, creating their own commitments and persevering with them. This life is a series of opportunities given to us, but to seize them, you must dare to take risks. If you don't dare to try, you'll never have the life you truly deserve. I once heard a saying that I can't forget. Life is a risk. If you play it safe, you'll never truly live. And I understand that more than ever now. Life isn't for those who are afraid, for those who always shy away from challenges. If you don't dare to step out of your comfort zone, you'll never know the wonderful life waiting for you ahead. I clearly remember standing at a crossroads where I had to choose, continue the familiar life or take the risk to chase my dreams. And I chose to take the risk. That journey wasn't easy. It took everything I had, but I learned something valuable. If you dare to step outside your limits, if you dare to believe in yourself and in what you can achieve, life will offer you miracles you never imagined. Like the saying I once heard, life will give you everything you need when you dare to walk with faith. I can't say this path hasn't had painful moments, times when I felt like giving up, but I also realized that those difficulties weren't random. They're part of the process, part of the price you must pay to achieve what you desire. Remember, to chase your dreams, you must pay a certain price. But if you're willing to pay that price, life won't disappoint you. In the end, you will receive the rewards you truly deserve, and you might be surprised at what you dared not dream of before. There are times when, standing at a crossroads, unsure whether to continue or stop, you will feel like you have nothing left to give. Those moments are tough, when everything seems to be against you. But I want you to remember one thing. Never let those dark moments define your destiny. I remember hearing a successful person once share that when you feel like there's nothing left, just wait a little longer. One day, 1 week, 1 month, even a year later, you'll no longer remember the pain or discomfort. What will remain is the pride, the dignity of what you've overcome. Yes, pain is temporary, but pride lasts forever. The feeling of glory after each victory, no matter how big or small, is something no one can take away from you. I remember the famous quote I once heard in a movie. As long as you dare to give everything you've got, you will receive 10 times as much in return. And I've witnessed that truly, it's the truth. When you dare to take risks, face challenges, even if it means enduring pain and paying the price, what you receive in return will be greater than you ever imagined. Believe me, you will never regret taking that path. The hardships and challenges will only be memories, and you'll be proud of yourself when you look back. Remember, every step in difficulty is a step closer to glory. As I sit and reflect on everything I've been through, the challenges I've faced, I've come to realize that success isn't something distant. It starts with something very simple, mindset. This isn't something I came up with on my own, but a valuable lesson I've learned from those who've succeeded. One time, I heard a famous person share, all success starts with mindset. I've heard it many times, but only when I truly understood it did I see its value. What we believe is what determines how we act. That's what I've learned from my own failures and challenges. If you believe every effort you make will lead to a new skill, you won't hesitate to invest time and energy into it. And you'll see that the results you get will be worth it. But if you think your talent and intelligence are fixed, then no matter how hard you try, you can't get better, you'll limit yourself and won't dare. to push forward. That's what keeps you from progressing. I realized that if you don't believe in your own abilities, if you don't believe that you can change and grow, you will never acquire the skills that others possess. And without those skills, you won't be able to do the things that others are doing, the things that you've always dreamed of. So, I want you to understand something important. It all begins with whether or not you're willing to invest your time and energy to get better. Start there, with believing in yourself, and everything will change. We often find reasons to delay, to avoid acting immediately. But I've come to understand that if you don't start today, when will you? Success doesn't come from excuses. It comes from relentless effort, from believing in yourself, and daring to walk the difficult path. Successful people share one thing in common: they never give up. Life always has its moments of uncertainty. Those times when you can't see your way forward, when everything seems to be spinning and you can't find a solution. But as I once heard someone say, everything is crazy until it's successful. That's right, sometimes the things that seem impossible, the challenges that feel like they'll crush you, end up being the very stepping stones that lead to a result far beyond what you could imagine. Think of the end result as your ace in the hole. At this moment, all the pain, all the hardships, the times when you thought you might fall, become part of the story, part of the journey. At that point, nothing matters except whether you can keep going down this path, no matter how hard it gets. I remember a line from a movie I love: "Even if I have to sacrifice everything, I will go all the way." What you hope to achieve at the end of this road is the most powerful motivation to help you get through it all. And then, one day, when you look back at everything you've gone through, when you see all that you've had to sacrifice, you'll realize it was all worth it. The pain is no longer a burden, but a memory of growth. You'll see that every effort, no matter how difficult, had its reason. And those challenging moments will be the clearest proof of your persistence, of your inner strength. When you make it through, you'll know that you've created a story that no one else could write. There are moments in life when the pain feels like it will swallow you whole, each second passing like an insurmountable challenge. That feeling is almost like torture, suffocating you, as if everything around you is collapsing. But then, when you decide to endure just a little longer, when you don't give up, everything suddenly becomes different. The pain disappears abruptly, as if you just pulled the plug and the water's draining from the sink, all that built-up pressure vanishing with it. That's the best feeling you can experience. No matter how horrific the pain was, it leads you to a sense of pride and satisfaction that nothing else can compare to. You look back and realize that it was your resilience that helped you overcome the challenge. And now, there is no more pain, only a stronger person, someone capable of overcoming anything. Don't let pain take away your potential. Don't let the hardships of the moment make you lose faith in yourself. Remember, your body listens to every thought you have, and whenever you say you can't, it will reflect that. But if you push past those words, if you prove to yourself that you can, you'll see that your abilities are limitless. Pain is temporary, but the strength you gain from overcoming it will stay with you forever. The price of success is not always easy to accept. Every time you face pain, every time you feel exhausted, you may ask yourself, is it worth continuing? Sometimes your body seems to rebel, as if saying, stop, that's enough. But the interesting thing is, the body is just a messenger. It's not the final decision maker. It's simply conveying the emotions, the signals you're experiencing. And it's your mind that's the leader, the one that decides whether or not you'll push through. As a famous quote from Elon Musk goes, success doesn't come easily, but if you don't try, you'll never know how far you can go. The body may feel pain, it may want to give up, but the mind is the one in control. Don't let negative thoughts take over. Don't let those weak moments cause you to falter. So, even when the pain feels like it's going to devour you, remember that you can absolutely overcome it. Your body will respond to what you think. If you allow yourself to believe that you can, you will. If you let your body, let the pain control you, you'll never achieve what you want. Let your mind guide you to the extraordinary things you deserve. There are moments in life when we have to face the bitter truth, but those moments are also the most valuable lessons. I clearly remember what my father taught me, a deep lesson about choice. My father, who could make people laugh until they cried, once had the potential to become a great comedian. But because he didn't believe in his own ability, he chose the safe path, becoming an accountant. But as I saw, nothing in life is certain. Not even the safe job could protect him forever. When I was just 12, my father was laid off. Our family was forced to do whatever we could to survive. That's when I realized something important. My father chose the safe path, but that safety couldn't protect him from failure. Whether you're an accountant or in any other job, if you don't love it, if you don't believe in it, you'll never be able to give your best. And my father taught me that you can fail at what you don't love. So why not try doing what you're passionate about? I think of a quote from Jim Carrey, one of my idols. The worst thing is to live a life without daring to try, without daring to dream. But if you fail, at least you'll know you live fully. And I realized that I won't let fear and doubt stop me from chasing my dreams. If I fail, at least I'll be able to say I dared to live with passion. Dared to. Try. And that's more important than any safety. You probably know the feeling of having to face a difficult choice in life. Those times when you have to accept the immediate cost to get what you want. I once thought that all I needed right then was a little temporary satisfaction, a reassurance, a promise that everything would be fine. But after failures, after moments of confronting myself, I realized that what I truly needed wasn't something easily attainable. Like a quote I heard from a famous figure, "The reason I will get what I want in life is because, unlike most people, I'm willing to have nothing in this moment." Of course, having something immediately would be great, but the unfortunate truth is that what most people truly want isn't available right now. Those who have great relationships, good health, successful careers, they're the ones who never settle for less than what they deserve. They persevere. They're not easily satisfied with the present because they know that the best doesn't come from shallow waiting or compromising. I wonder, why does it have to be most people? Why do I have to be part of that crowd? And I realized I don't have to be like them. Neither do you. You don't have to be like them. If you're brave enough not to accept any compromise, you'll find that success is something achievable, not through luck, but through persistence and an unyielding determination to never quit. So, why settle for less when you can achieve something far greater? As long as you're willing to fight for it, nothing is impossible. One thing I've realized throughout this journey is that many of us live in a box, and we don't want to step outside of it, not even a little. Every day, we lock ourselves within the limits we set for ourselves, content with the present and never daring to step out to see the endless possibilities life has to offer. This is like a story I once heard from someone very famous who shared, "We're the ones who bind our own minds." We become prisoners of our own thoughts, telling ourselves that this is all we can do, this is our limit. But the truth is, we don't just live for ourselves. We have the power to change millions of lives if we dare to face ourselves, dare to face life. You've probably heard stories about great people, those who changed the world through their courageous actions. They weren't special, not because they had extraordinary strength or talent, but because they dared to break through their own limits, stepping outside the box of fear and doubt. And once again, I realize we all have that potential. We can do it as long as we have the courage to face challenges, face our fears, and most importantly, face ourselves. When I think about these words, I can't help but recall a story I heard during an online talk by a well-known speaker. He said, "Society doesn't require you to do this. You must demand it from yourself." This statement truly shook me. It turns out that it's not the world around us or the invisible standards weighing us down. It's the demands we place on ourselves, whether we choose to do something meaningful or not. We have little time in life, but that is exactly what makes everything precious. If you don't spend those precious moments on things truly worth doing, you'll miss opportunities that will never come back. It's not something society demands of you. It's something you must decide for yourself. And when you feel like there's nothing left to lose, you'll realize that you're actually holding an invisible advantage. You may start from nothing, but that very fact opens up the opportunity for you to take risks, face challenges, and even fail while still rising again. At this moment, I recall a book I read about people who started from scratch and eventually achieved the unimaginable. They understood that if you have nothing to lose, you no longer fear failure. This is the key that allowed them to act more quickly and decisively than anyone else. Why be afraid if you can turn the odds in your favor and make nothing into an advantage? When you no longer hesitate before taking risks, you will discover opportunities others would never dare to try. As you begin to shift your perspective, you will notice something important. Things are not as hard as you think. That feeling of nothing is the beginning, not the end. Take action, try, and when you face every challenge, you'll realize that these decisions are what will guide you to the change you seek. I still clearly remember a speaker I once heard who said, "Don't fear failure. Understand that where you stand today is not you. It's just the starting point." I felt the depth of that statement because sometimes we lose faith in ourselves because of our setbacks. But the truth is, each fall only brings us closer to what we want. He added, if you fall forward, because at least you'll move one step further. That's how I view life. Each failure is simply a step forward in learning and growing stronger. This reminds me of a famous quote by one of my role models, Will Smith. He once shared that when others say something can't be done, don't believe them. They may say it's impossible because they've never tried. How would you know if you haven't tried? He said, and I realized that we can't let others' doubts stop us. There's only one way to prove ourselves. Step out and challenge ourselves. So many people stand on the sidelines, criticizing those who are taking action, while they've never dared to step out themselves. Those who can do it, while those who can only talk about those who can. That's the plain truth. But what about you? Can you stand on the playing field and do it? Or are you just an observer, talking about others? The answer can only come from you. When you confidently step into life, unafraid of failure, you will be the one making a difference. Have you ever woken up in the morning and asked yourself, how do I really want to live? I know that feeling. It's not an easy question to answer, and it's certainly not one you can find an answer to. Just by skimming through daily life, everything seems to be happening by chance, with no plan, no clear goals. But if you really stop and think for a moment, if you truly take the time to figure out what you want, you'll understand that this is the first step toward changing your life. Think about it for a second. When you know exactly what you want, when you understand the direction you're going to take, you'll begin to live with a clear purpose. Every morning, you'll no longer just exist, but be someone on a quest for something you believe will complete your life. That feeling when you have a strong reason to get out of bed, when you know exactly what you need to do to move forward, is truly different. I remember once listening to an interview with Elon Musk, where he said that when you have a dream or a goal, the most important thing is to never stop pursuing it. He said, I don't think I can fail. I can only learn and try again. And I realized there's one thing many of us lack: perseverance and determination. When you begin to dream of something that doesn't exist right now, when you want to turn an idea into reality, you'll face many challenges, failures, and loneliness. But it's in those moments, when you persist, that you'll grow stronger and you'll realize you're no longer alone. So, imagine that you are the only one living in your own world. You don't have to live by the expectations of others. You don't have to live according to what society demands. You have the right to decide what you want and then spend your whole life searching for and achieving it. Don't just wake up every morning and live as if it's an accident. Make each day of your life a meaningful journey where you keep searching and moving toward your goal. Life sometimes is not exactly what you imagine. No matter how many plans or dreams you have, reality can always surpass them all. And when you set out to make things happen, there will be people on the sidelines throwing stones, calling you names they think will make you stop, make you quit. But this is an inevitable part of the journey. I've been through that feeling when every time I tried to bring ideas from my head into reality, when every time I set a goal and persisted in pursuing it. Those criticisms, those skeptical looks, they're nothing new to me. And over time, I've learned how to protect myself from them, how to let those stones be nothing more than a passing breeze, unable to shake me. That story is not just mine. It's the story of anyone who dares to dream, dares to do what they want. Remember, if you have the will, everything will happen the way you want, no matter how many challenges you face or how many times you fail. I once read a quote by Steve Jobs that I really like. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. And I realized that no matter how difficult it gets, no matter how much others criticize you, if you love what you do, if you believe in what you're pursuing, nothing can stop you. And I'm not just talking about theory. I'm talking about true perseverance. Because even if you're called controlling, a perfectionist, or someone with such high standards that it makes others uncomfortable, that's not the problem. Those standards, those demands, are not meant to please others, but to achieve the best. I will do this to the end. I will demand that everything be done right from the first time, because I know that no matter what, I will start over if needed. And in the end, everyone will have to accept one thing. We'll do it this way. This is the only way to get the best result. It's those who persist, who never give up on their ideas, those who keep moving forward despite all the criticism, who create the great changes in history. Life constantly changes, and it's that change that creates challenges and opportunities. I once heard a saying I'll never forget. In such a rapidly changing world, the biggest risk you can face is not daring to face any risk. When I first heard this, I couldn't help but wonder, have I been living in my comfort zone for too long? Am I missing out on great opportunities just because I'm afraid of uncertainty? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this is not just advice, but a truth. A truth I've come to understand after every failure, after facing every challenge. When you're at a crossroads where you have to decide to do something big, change your direction, there will surely be people pointing out the potential risks. They will show you the difficulties, the failures that might happen, and in some ways they're right. Every decision has its pros and cons, but I've learned something important. If you never change, never step out of your comfort zone, then in the end, you're just ensuring a certain failure. You've probably heard of successful people, those whose lives seem to always go smoothly. But few know that behind that success are the times they dared to take risks, dared to do what others wouldn't. Steve Jobs, someone I admire, once said, "Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice." And I realized that if you don't dare to change, don't dare to take risks, you will never get the amazing things you desire. The reality is, you can stand still and safe, but everything will just pass you by. You won't progress, you won't grow. And even if you avoid the small risks, you'll pay the price by losing the big opportunities. So why not try once? Step out of your comfort zone, face the challenges, and see what you can achieve. Risks always come with opportunities, and it's those who dare to face risks who are the ones that make a difference. Life is filled with moments I once avoided, times when I couldn't face the truth, when I couldn't accept myself. There were moments when I lied, not to others, but to myself. I remember telling people about the things I wanted to become, the goals I was striving to achieve, but deep inside, I knew those were just lies. Not because I didn't want to change, but because I wasn't brave enough to face the reality. Those words didn't come from a genuine place. They were just dreams and hopes that hadn't materialized. And then there came a moment when I realized that the truth is the only thing that can set me free. Every time I looked into someone else's eyes, I felt an unusual peace. It was the moment I knew that everything I said came from a real place, from what I had done and what I had accomplished. I understood that feeling, the feeling that isn't based on falsehoods or embellished stories, is irreplaceable. That feeling made me proud because I knew everything I said was the truth, and I no longer had to hide or pretend. I am who I say I am, and I have done those things through my own efforts. I remember a quote I once heard from someone I admire. The truth, even though sometimes bitter, is the source of the greatest strength. And it was in those moments that I learned that there is nothing more valuable than living truthfully with yourself. When you dare to face the truth without hiding or fearing it, you will feel a strength you never knew existed. And I also realized that while everything around us may change, the truth is the only thing that never does. I realized that everything we desire in life only truly becomes real when we have the courage to live in the present moment. If we keep living for the future, we will only experience anxiety and restlessness. And if we remain haunted by the past, we will drown in sadness and regret. The only way to truly feel happiness is to live fully in the present. There's a quote I will never forget from someone I deeply admire. He said, "Commit to something, share it with those around you, and no matter what they think, no matter how they encourage you, you keep going." That is what changed me. It wasn't just simple advice, it was a life strategy. If you want success, you must have clear goals and commit to them every day, step by step. I remember the times I felt like a failure, the moments when I heard criticism and envy from those around me. It was then that I realized that it's a part of the journey. You can't please everyone, especially when you're growing, when you're starting to rise and achieve things they never dared to dream of. But instead of letting those negative words hold you back, use them as motivation to keep moving forward. I also remember a line from a movie I watched where a character said, "To make the body follow, the mind must lead." And that's the key. Take control of your thoughts, because when your mind is strong, your body and everything around you will automatically follow that goal. Don't waste time thinking about what can't be done. Set your goals, commit to achieving them, and live each day to turn them into reality. Life is not about guessing. It's the science of determination and intensity. If you don't have dedication and effort, don't even start. When I was just 17, everything in life seemed foggy. I didn't know what I really wanted, where I was going, or what I was supposed to do. I remember sitting alone, asking myself if I could do something great, if I could succeed. Like many people at that age, I felt lost in a vast world where everyone else seemed to have found their path, while I remained stuck. I started a Twitch account in 2019, but surprisingly, for an entire year, I only had one viewer. And that viewer was my dad. I know it sounds odd, but during that time, I learned so much from looking at the screen with just one person watching me play games, and that person was my dad. No one else, just him, sitting there, silently supporting me, even though I didn't receive attention from anyone else. And then I realized something. Success is not something you see immediately. It doesn't come from numbers or external recognition. Success starts with persistence, with accepting the tough days that no one else knows about, with continuing even when no one is paying attention. I remember hearing from a very successful person, they said success is not the destination, but the journey. And that journey, even if it only has one companion, is still valuable, still worth continuing. As I sit back and reflect on the days that have passed, I ask myself that if one day, when I'm older, my grandchildren ask me, "Grandpa, what was life like when you were young?" What will I answer? I'll be able to look them in the eye and say, "Well, actually, I didn't do much because I was too afraid of what others would think of me. I never dared to take my shirt off because I hated my body, and I never started a business because I was afraid it would fail." Just thinking about it seems ridiculous. We only live once, and time passes in the blink of an eye. Soon enough, we will grow old, and the opportunities we missed will never come back. That's why you have to live fully. Dare to dream, dare to do, and dare to fail. I remember the words of someone I admire, someone who didn't let fear stop them. "Don't fear failure. Fear what you might miss if you don't try," they said. And I understood that if I keep living in the shadows of fear, I will only regret it more later for not daring to live fully. This world has no room for those who just stand still and watch others move forward. If you don't step out of your comfort zone, how will you know your own limits? Maybe your story didn't start as smoothly as you hoped, but don't assume that's all there is to you. It's not the past, but the rest of the story, the things you choose to do, and who you decide to become. Don't forget that failure is not the end. It's just a stepping stone on the road to success. In fact, you won't succeed on your first try, and that's perfectly normal. Just look at those who have achieved great success in this world. They weren't people who never stumbled. J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, was rejected 12 times before her first book was published. Or Michael Jordan, the basketball legend, was cut from his high school basketball team. He lost countless games and missed thousands of shots throughout his career. But he said, "I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." These people succeeded not because they never failed, but because they understood that failure should not define them. They knew that failure is not the end, it's a valuable lesson. Every time they fell, they learned, and every time helped them grow stronger, understand themselves better, and figure out how to start over. Failure is not the end of the story. It's an essential part of building a success story. So, don't fear failure. Let it become your teacher, showing you what to do differently next time. Because every time you try again is an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and closer to your goal. One thing I've learned, and it truly changed the way I approach work and life, is this. Instead of spending time creating the perfect mood or waiting until everything is ready, I tried a different approach. Simply stop, face the work, and start right away. You see, people often think they need perfect conditions to begin, but the truth is starting is the perfect condition. When you begin, everything will gradually unfold as it should, and you'll feel more confident to continue. You've probably heard the phrase, "You have to show up no matter how you feel." A friend of mine called me yesterday and asked a simple yet very practical question. He said, "Pat, what should I do when I just don't want to go to work today? What do I do when I have no motivation?" And I answered him simply, "We've all heard this before. You have to show up no matter how you feel." It's a principle many people tend to overlook. The feeling of not wanting to work, the lack of motivation. Everyone has experienced it. But it's precisely during these times that you just need to push yourself out of your comfort zone and get to work. Sometimes, all it takes is getting out of bed, sitting at your desk, and starting the task to realize that things aren't as hard as you thought. You don't need to wait. You don't need perfect conditions, because there's only one condition for success: action. It's a principle many people tend to overlook. The feeling of not wanting to work, the lack of motivation. Everyone has experienced it. But it's precisely during these times that you just need to push yourself out of your comfort zone and get to work. Sometimes, all it takes is getting out of bed, sitting at your desk, and starting the task to realize that things aren't as hard as you thought. You don't need to wait. You don't need perfect conditions because there's only one condition for success: action. One thing I've realized clearly throughout my journey: simply showing up isn't enough. You can't make a difference just by being present, and I think truly exceptional people don't stop there. You need to raise your standards to a new level. In fact, I think you have to do that even when you don't want to. Sometimes, simply showing up for work isn't enough. You have to show up even when your body and mind resist. And then you have to create that sense of excitement, confidence, and enthusiasm, even when you don't have it within you. You have to trick yourself into believing that you're ready, that you're energized and prepared for whatever challenge lies ahead. I remember once a friend asked me, "How can I keep my motivation when I don't feel like doing anything?" And I told him, as a powerful piece of encouragement, don't wait for the feeling of readiness to come to you. You have to create that feeling. Convince yourself that you're in the best mood, and then you'll see that you can accomplish anything. That's the difference between those who settle for mediocrity and those who truly succeed. They don't just show up. They arrive with the mindset of a winner, even when all they want is to rest. And if you can do this, you will discover the endless strength within yourself. It's like a fire burning. When you start working, you may not feel ready, but then something magical happens. You begin to build a powerful energy, a high frequency that only those willing to push through psychological barriers can experience. And that's when you realize this. You're not just working, you're breaking through. Both productivity and enthusiasm surge. You forget that you didn't want to work at first. You forget the fatigue, forget the lack of motivation, because now you're fully focused on the results you can achieve. I once heard someone say, successful entrepreneurs are those who know how to maintain energy not just in favorable times, but also when facing challenges. And I believe that's the key. These individuals don't just show up for work. They show up at the highest level possible. They don't just seek success for themselves. They strive to bring value to everyone around them. That's the secret to success. You don't just have to show up. You must show up with incredible energy, ready to conquer every goal. Once you reach this state, you won't just show up for work. You will fight with all the passion you have. Because, in the end, success isn't a race you simply join. It's about showing up with the determination and value you can bring. Always remember, show up and bring your best energy, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Remember, every challenge you face isn't random. It's an opportunity for you to prove that you're stronger than you think. Successful people aren't those who have never failed. They are those who dared to rise each time they fell. Surely, you've heard inspiring words from mentors, movie quotes that bring tears to our eyes because of their resilience, determination, and belief in oneself. So why not begin your own journey today? Act, not because you can't fail, but because you know that success only comes to those who dare to face and rise above themselves. If you find value in these words, don't forget to subscribe and join us in exploring more invaluable lessons on the journey to conquer life. Thank you for reading, and if you found value in this message, please don't forget to like, follow, and share. Let's continue to inspire each other on this incredible journey of growth and success.